And now, it's the Better with Bourbon Podcast with Brad Martineau and Deacon Palmer. Fast thinking and smooth drinking.
The views and opinions shared on the Better with Bourbon Podcast are our own and those of our guests. Nothing we discuss should be taken as financial, legal, business, or gambling advice. Don't make investment, business, or betting decisions based on our conversations, as you should always talk to a qualified professional. Always drink responsibly, never drink and drive, and only consume alcohol if you are of legal drinking age.
And they can't place us inside the restaurant. So what they do is they place us up in the stowaway balconies.
Yeah.
And this room had to be no less than 85 degrees. So we have this beautiful.
It's always pleasant.
Yeah, several course meal.
Jackets on.
Felt like we were in a sauna. I was about ready to go out and roll in the snow, but it was 15 degrees below, so I wasn't that desperate.
Well, hey, and the other thing that was awesome this week is we got a bunch of new friends. Did Rodney tell you?
No.
We got great news to talk about when we're done. We can't do it on we're on camera here.
Awesome.
But hey, episode 4. Welcome to Better with Bourbon, where fast thinking meets smooth drinking. It is February 9th. We're in Indiana, Pennsylvania. And we got a great show for you tonight. Lots going on in the sports world. So we're going to do a couple of sports conversations. We're going to talk about what's going on. A couple big things happened this week. Everybody's talking about it. You can guess what they are. We're going to talk a little bit about our Penguins because, with the Olympics going on and Sydney having the spotlight on him, we got to highlight what he's doing in his day job, which is excellent. We're going to talk a little bit about the business of bourbon tonight. It was a big deal. Brad's going to lead us through, one of the higher profile deals in the bourbon space over the last little while. I'm ready to learn about it, so I hope you are too. Topic 1 tonight, we're going to start with something that's near and dear to our heart, golf. We haven't talked very much about golf in the first few episodes because it's the damn dead middle of winter, and it hasn't been. Today was the warmest day we've had in Pennsylvania since we started doing this, and it was 31 maybe? Was it?
It was like a heat wave.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, Joe DiNardo.
Felt like it.
Only the Pittsburgh crowd would know Joe
Partly
DiNardo.
cloudy and mild.
Right? He says it just like one of that dress just accents the whole weather.
I'm gonna have to stop wearing the dress. That's too distracting to me.
It is. Keep us focused.
If you were killing time getting ready for the Super Bowl to start the other night, probably you were watching the Waste Management out of Phoenix, which is the biggest party in golf every year. It makes headlines not only for the quality of play, but for some of the shenanigans associated with that party. You get a lot of the students from the Phoenix area coming out. I think last year, no joke, they actually ran out of beer. The state of Arizona ran out of beer because of how much was being drunk at the thing. So sports fans after our own heart. This year, we had kind of an exciting finish, and that's become one of the marks of the Waste Management Open is playoffs. They finish in a playoff every year. That course is gettable.
Well, and the other mark of the playoff is Hideki being in it. It seems like that he owns that tournament.
The poor guy. I mean, Hideki, he probably should have won. He's got one of the best short games in the business, particularly with the putter. And you can see him dominating the greens, but the poor guy can't hit the ball off the damn tee. And if he could control his driver, he'd probably be right up there banging on Scheffler to be, top player in the world. But he can't hit the ball off the damn tee.
Well, he didn't on number 18, at least not on 18 and not in the playoff on 18. So it cost him.
That was a mess. And he took hit the ball long and left. I was on the front 9 2 days in a row, took an unplayable or a penalty stroke 2 rounds in a row. And he'd made a number of other kind of critical driving errors that cost him late. But ultimately, our boy Gottrip, this is horrible of me as a golf fan. I don't even know what Gottrip's first name is. Do you?
No, but I've seen him on the leaderboard. The name's familiar because I've seen it on the leaderboard. Let's put it that way. His last name.
Well,
so I think he's been making an impact. I really haven't looked into him that much, but he certainly had one heck of a back 9.
Yeah, He birdied 5 of the last 6, including the last 4. Birdied in from 15.
That's how you finish.
Are you serious? Well, the reason you know his name is because this was actually his second win of the year. He won the Sony Open in January. So
there you go.
We've had 5 starts this year. He's won 2 of them. Interestingly, the kid had about $8 million in career earnings coming into this year, and he's won 3.5 already this year. So he's cashing checks in a Scheffler fashion.
Not sure what his New Year's resolution is, but I got to think he almost did it by Groundhog Day.
Yeah, no joke. And, there's some takeaways here that, as we get closer to the golf season and we get closer, next week's the AT&T from Pebble Beach, which is a place very near and dear to every golfer's heart. It's not long before we start seeing commercials for the Masters, Jim Nantz saying, hello, friends. Is there a warmer welcome to a sporting event than that?
No.
I mean, no, not at all.
That's just what we love.
But a couple of takeaways here. Scheffler is never out of it. He didn't even play well. He still almost won.
I've never seen Scotty get so frustrated that first day or two when he was actually throwing clubs, kind of slamming. And missing, chip shots that he looked like me out there a couple times. And, it's good to see he's actually human because, he always has that. In my mind, he always just had that even keel, and even him blowing up is not really blowing up compared to some of the other players on the tour. It's pretty mild, but it's just to see him get frustrated like he did. But at the end of the day, he was still in the top 10 fighting his way up there.
Well, you talk about his demeanor. Remember when he got arrested?
Yeah.
And he actually apologized to the police officer who arrested him by accident. He's like, hey, I'm going to work. Doesn't matter what you're doing, buddy. You're coming with me.
He's exactly how you want your criminal defendant to be treated.
Exactly. But so Hideki Matsuyama had a couple of really unfortunate incidents happen where fans, once was clearly intentional, once I think was reported as it might have been an accident, but he had to pull off the ball a couple of times because of noise. And the Waste Management is known for these sort of shenanigans, right? This is a place where you got a lot of non-golf fans coming to participate in the party, specifically to get boozed up and then go watch the Super Bowl.
Well, it's like going into a rock concert when they open the gates in the morning. So they're kind of leading into it. And I almost think this tournament, maybe it's not, was the inspiration for the Live Tour. But,
you're making a lot of sense about it.
It could, but nevertheless, what happened, I think, to him on 18 was all those fans that were partying on 16 migrated their way over. And you saw some of those towers of beer cups. They left no beer, left behind. So it had an effect to the tournament.
It's a damn shame when a guy's putting to win. How many chances you get to win a PGA tournament in your life? He has a putt to actually win the tournament. Granted, it was from distance, but he had to pull off that because some a-hole yelled out. And I want to call out something else. I wasn't aware of this during the event, but found out about it today. There's some influencer kid that is famous for,
heard that.
I understand, flipping a bottle. He'll take a water bottle, flip it in the air, and make it land. But so he's turned this into a multi-million-dollar industry, and this kid is really well known to the youth of America, who I weep for after. If this is your role model, you got something wrong with you. But this kid went up to some other a-hole kid on I'm not sure what hole and said, hey, I'll give you $100 if you yell in the guy's backswing. And the kid did it, and they both got kicked out. And, it's just, this is the kind of thing where I wish whoever's monetizing that kid with his content would find a way to say, if the police get involved in some stunt you're doing to try to make money, not only are we not letting you monetize that, but we're going to penalize you some other way. That shit has to stop. It has to stop.
He'll actually make a fortune on that video.
It makes me
probably already did.
Makes me want to vomit. We were trying to talk about stuff that matters, and we're doing great. But this kid, just behavior like that is no place in the world. And he's not the only one to do it. There's millions of these things. So
I think you and I can have a debate on the whole respect of the game as to why the fans that are observing should be quiet through a golfer's shot. It's been tradition. I know that. I'm just going to touch on it real quickly, but that's changed. So now with the Live Tour and them routing up the Ryder Cup, you can go through all these other examples that are kind of starting to evolve in the game. Maybe it's becoming more familiar to the younger generations that this is acceptable. So we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt that was okay. I think they know better when the quiet signs are up and people are giving them dirty looks and they obviously the police are escorting them out and they get a lifetime ban. But it's
Maybe it's part of the game.
Well, and maybe it has to be part of the game that the players have to come to realize if it's going to be an entertainment business like any other, and you're going to make it enjoyable for the fans. Maybe you have to be able to putt and play or hit your tee shot and your other shots with a little bit of noise in the background.
Well, now that is a perspective I did not expect out of traditionalists like yourself, and a fine golfer in your own right, Bradley. I mean, I've seen you go low. I mean, under par.
You know, I'm not that great of a traditionalist. I still believe that a divot in the fairway is ground under repair.
Well, this is a guy who plays golf in slides. Okay, so we've all seen. It's a pretty relaxed golfer.
Well, shout out to Bill Franzer. He's never seen a gimme he didn't like. If it's on the green, he's picking it up. That putt's good.
That's good. Now, let's move on.
Okay, yeah. Okay, one takeaway though. This kid Bjornsson. He was in the lead coming down. This kid's fire. He is on my list of people I want to watch throughout the year. This kid can really hit the ball, and I think he led the PGA Tour in greens and regulation last year. Solid player, fun to watch. Anyway, that was my takeaway.
He was solid. He had a great performance.
All right, I want to talk about the Penguins real quick. Our Pittsburgh Penguins do a little local flavor in this sports recap. I know we're on a break here for the Olympics, which is important, so the NHL has to take off because all these guys are now playing in the Olympics. But coming into the Olympic break, the Penguins went last 10 games 7-1-2. Okay, and right now, second in the Metro Division, fifth overall in the conference. They're playing really good hockey, and it's not just Crosby. Crosby's having a great year and is scoring goals, but we're even getting output from Malkin, who, let me see what the stats are here. Malkin's got 44 points in 41 games. Crosby has 59 points in 56 games year to date. I mean, this is crazy.
Those are crazy numbers.
Guys like our age.
I know, and that's what makes it even more remarkable, right? So I think he's going to definitely hit that mark that we talked about in one of our previous episodes. But
yeah, he might. I mean, that 90-point mark we talked about. Honestly, if he comes back and stays healthy, who knows? He might do 100 points for the year. The interesting piece this year that I actually had to do some reading up on because I haven't been able to sit down and really devote myself to the pen so far this year, which is absolutely going to happen after the Olympics because now I'm really interested. They picked up this guy named Mantha, who's a right wing. He's playing on Malkin's right-hand side. This is this great big giant dude who now parks himself in front of the goal and has really kind of kicked Malkin into a new gear for the year. So Malkin's interested, but this kid, 20 goals, 22 assists year to date. So he's kind of filling that role that maybe Gensel did before we lost him, and you have that third contributor, and that's kind of what the Pens need. You need that third point scorer traditionally to get us going, right?
Yeah, sure. Chemistry seems to be working.
Yeah, so we're watching the Penguins. We're following the Penguins. We're going to move on. But, again, as we move toward the back half of the season and the playoffs, it's really important that we continue to support Sid and Gino because who knows how much longer we got them, right?
Yeah.
It's like when Ben left.
It is. You know they're still performing at such a high level, but how much longer can their bodies take it?
That's
I've
amazing.
been saying for years, this is the year they're going to have to rebuild. They're going to have to bottom out and rebuild and start over, but they just keep they're like the Steelers. They keep making the playoffs. And
it's Crosby.
Yeah.
Crosby just he won't give up. He doesn't want to quit. It's amazing.
Yeah, his work ethic is pretty much unmatched.
All right, you want to kick it forward? You want to do a little bit of Olympics? Nice segue from hockey to Winter Olympics. Okay, it's an easy one, right?
Yeah, well, they're going to be playing hockey in the Olympics.
Okay, so far, U.S. Olympic count. Now, keep in mind, we're shooting this tonight on Monday of this week, a little earlier than normal. So by the time you guys get it, hopefully we will have advanced a little bit in that medal count and some more excitement would have made its way through. But a couple big headlines so far. Let me roll through these really quickly, and then you pick whichever one you want to dig into and we talk about it, all right? Okay. Men's team figure skating. Might be the last time that ever makes it on the podcast. Men's team figure skating.
I don't think so. That's one of my favorites. and he hit it. And my boy, was he good.
Ilya Malinin, the quad god. I was interested in this kid for two reasons. Number one, he's from the D.C. area. He's from Vienna, Virginia, right outside D.C., which, I'm kind of a semi-resident of the D.C. metro area. But number two, you see this kid on TV. I don't know what his skincare regime is. But we got to dig on that. The kid,
you should reach out.
The kid's face is like porcelain.
Oh, it is. He's like and not only that, but he was almost perfect in every one of his every part of his performance. He was amazing. And I know Perry was admiring his outfit. The glitter was just shining.
It was the quads.
Yeah.
Definitely the quads.
Yeah, I know. And
the glutes.
The glutes. Yep.
Well, I did watch he had some pretty stiff competition. This little Japanese kid who looked like couldn't have been more than 5 feet tall. When he finished his program, I think maybe it was beautiful to watch. Landed all his stuff really good, but I think he might have overplayed his hand a little bit. I think he was kind of over-indexing on, if I just celebrate like I just knocked the ball out of the park, they're going to score me as such. And then Malanin came in and dunked on him and took the gold, which I thought was awesome. It was really neat. But we've probably talked about figure skating enough.
No, but we needed that.
You got to do it.
But we needed that gold. It was a big gold medal.
Women's downhill. I mean, obviously here, Lindsey Vonn is what everybody's talking about. But in spite of that tragedy, U.S. still took gold there. Great name of the gal that won gold, Breezy Johnson. What a great name, right?
That's a sports name.
You know what I want? I wish somebody would have said to Lindsey Vonn, babe, you're at the top of the sport. You're probably the most recognizable winter athlete of the last several generations, male or female. You have gold. You already got a titanium rod in one leg. Now that you've ripped the ACL in the other leg, maybe you shouldn't ski, right? Like
now she broke the other. I don't know if it was the same leg or not the same leg, but
it was separate legs. So now she's going to have titanium in both legs, and I just think to myself, she could have ruined the rest of her life. She's 40 years old.
She's going to have to wear fishnets for the rest of her life, right?
I'm a big fan.
I
was saying the same thing, Deacon. I said to my wife, I can't believe her doctors let her go. Especially after the ACL, because the knee is weak to begin with. Although they said that she caught a pole in the gate or something, but
Well, and she had a brace on. I think they gave her a false sense of security, and obviously it didn't last. But
well, that woman's fearless. I mean, you got to be a little bit.
Question.
Got to be a little bit crazy to get into that sport in the first place. But I mean, she knows no bounds.
No.
Women's hockey looked dominant, beating the crap out of Finland and Switzerland. Men's hockey starts Thursday. In our group, we got Latvia, Denmark, and Germany. We are broadly expected to shred those three and move on and contend for one of the medals. Kind of the favorites here are Canada, U.S., Sweden, Finland. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Right, but Canada, big favorite there. But look, one of the things that I'm totally captivated by is curling. Today I was watching curling while I was doing research for the show, and this was the mixed doubles. U.S. team was up against the defending gold medalist from Italy. The gal on the Italian team is from Cortina, right? And they're the defending Olympic gold medalists. Nail biter of a match. Couldn't tell you anything about what happened because I don't understand the damn rules. But I know that we won on the last throw. On the last throw, I guess you call it a throw or a slide in the last set or frame or whatever the hell it is. It was the end of the match. And our homeboy who had a great match, I don't know what his name was, but he's from Duluth, Minnesota. They kept showing Duluth, Minnesota, expecting the people up there to party every time they'd show the camera. They wanted somebody to jump around. Everybody would kind of go like this. It was kind of, so God bless you, Minnesota. But curling has got me totally captivated, and I'm thinking hopefully if we can put it together technically, next week we might have a special guest come on and give us a little bit of an education about what curling is and how it works. Did you catch any curling?
No, but I could envision you being the guy that does the brooming.
Does the broom? Well, I mean, I think if you throw it, you got to broom it. It's a two-way thing. It's like you can't. It's like if you hit the driver, you got to hit your own putt too. I mean, it's kind of like
so. There's not a separate person.
Well, you can. I
thought there was a separate person brooming versus the person that's sliding or throwing the slide.
Maybe in the team event. Or again, we're going to have to ask Jordan Paul next week when he comes on.
And you're going to not a mainstream sport, although it probably should be.
Yeah, it should be. It's totally.
There would be a lot of fun with this.
Okay, next.
So, before you switch, in Altoona, a mere hour from here, they have a curling club at the rink down there.
Yes, I've heard this.
Yeah, we were down there for hockey, and these guys are coming in with bags with the brooms and the whatever that thing is they slide. And
lots of beer.
What's going on here? They're like, oh, it's curling night. We're like, oh, I got to stay and watch. It was awesome.
See, curling strikes me as for our crowd as the perfect blend between sports, and drinking, because there's plenty of downtime if you want to have a beer, right? Which I think is probably why it's so popular up there in the.
Instead of going right to those senior games, we feel like he still has some sort of athleticism.
That's right.
So look, we're going to take a little break. We're going to stoke the fire. We're going to make sure our drinks are full. We come back. We're going to talk a little bit about the business of bourbon, and then maybe move on to some other stuff. But thanks for being with us tonight. We'll be right back.
What happens when work disappears, when money dissolves, and when freedom becomes something you earn, not something you're born with? A new kind of power is rising, not a government, not a corporation, but the algorithm. In the algorithmic state, no jobs, no money, little freedom. Amazon best-selling author Bradley J. Martineau reveals the world we're stepping into. A world where your reputation is computed, your opportunities are filtered, and your identity is shaped by systems that know you better than you know yourself. This is not science fiction. This is the operating manual of the future forming around us right now. If you want to understand the forces that will define power, belonging, and freedom in the decades ahead, start here. The algorithmic state, no jobs, no money, little freedom. Available now on Amazon.
So you're telling me that kid speaks Mandarin? You're going to be kidding me. He's a sicko. Okay, we're back. We're back. Better with bourbon, fast thinking meets smooth drinking. And even though the show is about bourbon, we've probably not paid bourbon enough attention on the show. There's so many things that we're interested in. This week, something interesting happened. There was a big buyout in the bourbon world. Japanese spirits conglomerate Kirin is selling Four Roses bourbon, which we happen to be drinking right now, back to the U.S. wine giant E.J. Gallo. Bradley, tell us a little bit about this. What do you think is interesting about it?
Well, it's not official yet, so it's just a sales agreement. But I think it's worth our talking about a little bit, especially since we talked a couple weeks ago about.
You do the talking, I'm going to do the drinking.
Declining sales in bourbon drinking as you take a nice good swig. So we're helping the supply glut that's out there. So I find it good for the bourbon industry because it shows that there's still value for premium bourbons. Here, I think they were trying to fetch somewhere near $1 billion, and they ended up getting a contract for $775 million, plus a $50 million earnout, depending on how sales probably transpire over the first year or so. That is quite remarkable, given the headlines that we've been seeing, even since we had our podcast a couple weeks ago. That it's still happening. The drinking is down. This is down. Well, what I would like to know in those stats is bourbon drinking actually down? So we know Gen Z is not drinking as much, but are they really impacting the bourbon industry? Because bourbon industry is a little more of a refined. Not that we're refined. We certainly are coarse and rough around the edges, but the typical bourbon drinker is a little more refined, is a little more in tune with the art of the drinking, of the taste, the soul, the story behind the bourbon. So it's not just a means to get drunk.
Bourbon is bucking the general trend, right? It's pretty strong, as I understand this, and I didn't do a ton of research on it, but this was a spot of strength, which is why they wanted to cash out.
Yeah, and it's a great way to put it. It is definitely a spot of strength. Kieran's looking at moving money to some of their other more stronger industries, pharmaceuticals, which is great. They're helping people get out of their own minds one way or the other. So it doesn't matter. So they're gonna benefit from it. But they're moving their money around. And E&J's, this is their second delve into bourbon. I think they bought back in 2022 Horse Soldier bourbon. So this isn't the first time they've gotten into the market. So, but this is a big name. This is a big name. It has a great line. I appreciate the bottle that you picked out for us tonight.
Yeah, this is a small batch select. You can get this pretty much anywhere, but of their lineup, this is the pricier of the two. This bottle here in Pennsylvania sells for $60, $65. And it's excellent.
It's
excellent.
It's so smooth. Highly recommend.
Yeah, you got a little bit of, you got a little bit of leather in there, but some bourbons, this is about it's 52%, 104 proof, so it doesn't have some of that chemical-y, kind of overly boozy, kind of nose when you get into it. It just tastes good. And it's not overly sweet like some of the other traditional kind of Kentucky bourbon.
It's been done very nice.
Oh, yeah. So, we're gonna get into this. But, it's funny, you said they're going to get into pharmaceutical. I was reading a little bit about this. The quote that I saw is they're going to get into pharma, but health sciences. And I was like, well, what the hell is health sciences? And it's functional foods and wellness products.
That makes a lot of sense. So
it's a functional food.
Well, it's probably they are probably going to their database of folks that have been drinking their bourbon. They're trying to help them get better.
Yeah, right. When I think of functional food, I think my mind goes to kimchi.
No, well,
immediately, and
right.
Right. So they're getting out of bourbon into
Kirin.
Like right. I mean,
and I do like Kirin beer too. By the way, that's a great light beer.
Oh, it sure is. But this is following. There was another Japanese major called Suntory, right? Suntory Holdings owned Jim Beam and some rights to Maker's Mark, and they actually cashed out last year, late 2025. And they said they were actually going to halt production at the time, particularly around the Beam products. There's a glut of Beam. So while people are buying high-end bourbon, it seems like maybe the low end of the market's taking it on the chin a little bit, and the Japanese wanted to, cash out on top instead of on bottom like they did with, with Pebble Beach when they, bought high, sold low.
It's a good hedge.
Good hedge.
You can't go wrong either way. I think it will bounce back. Everything's ebb and flow, right? So, especially in the alcohol market. But I do think that Kirin got out with a very great price. I do think E&J got a great brand. That this is still one of the bourbons that's still distilled in Kentucky.
Of course.
At one location.
Of course.
And stored and barreled in another. So in Kentucky. So it's kind of got the old Kentucky feel to it.
This does not feel like a newfangled bourbon. This feels very traditional.
No, this is
totally.
This is.
Yeah, there's not a lot of.
This is a legacy bourbon that I believe, when it makes headlines, it catches our attention.
So since we're talking about business and deal size, I did not do a multiple comparison, whether it was priced similarly to the Suntory decision. But do you think tariffs have anything to do with this?
At this point, it's hard to say because I think the tariff fears have kind of settled. There was a lot of hot air out there initially in that world, and there was a lot of fear in all industries, not just the bourbon industry. But possibly, as a Japanese company, they're saying, we don't want to play with that market anymore, and if we're going to get, and I'm not sure how I guess I'm not really sure how the tariffs would have affected if they're distilleries in Kentucky, if there would have been any effect on that. Yeah, there may have been, may have not been. I'm not that up to speed on the tariffs legalities, but
if it's an American product being sold in America,
right,
but owned by a Japanese company, I got to assume that a tariff would apply.
Possibly.
Again, we probably should do a little bit of research.
Should probably do some research on that, but knowing Trump, it probably would have applied.
Yeah, of course. Totally.
But then again, he does incentivize companies from overseas to come and do business in the not just Pennsylvania, but the United States. So who knows? That is an unknown. That's a question mark that maybe we'll tackle another day.
In the meantime, let's enjoy this because you never know. Never know what you got till it's gone. I would hate to see this disappear.
Well, and with E&J, they are going to get a bigger distribution market. You do have a well-seasoned player that's been around in the alcohol business.
And for such a high-quality product, this is a big name. Four Roses sells massive amounts of bourbon, which is clearly why they wanted to cash out and take that $775 million payday, right?
It's not bad.
Yeah, not at all. You ready to move on? You want to talk about the other big? We're going to go back to sports for a second.
Let's go back to sports.
Yeah, we skipped the obvious one. We last night was the Super Bowl.
Speaking of skipping it, I skipped the whole second half. It was a snoozer. I started watching YouTube videos. That was actually more entertaining than the Super Bowl. I think it was one of the, in my opinion, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but it was really boring. two great teams. We talked about them last week.
Yep.
I think the matchup was fantastic. Maybe because it was such a defensive battle to begin, it became a snoozer, and it was a field goal, kicker's dream.
It's like watching a Steeler game.
Right. Most of the Steelers games this year. So, but I think most of the entertainment value to this game was everything that was happening off the field.
Totally. Let's just real quick, let's acknowledge a couple things. Happy for Kenneth Walker III. That guy kind of reminds me of like a young Bettis, even though he's nowhere near that size. I just kind of like his personality.
Has kind of the running style of Le'Veon Bell. He's very patient.
Yeah, he's patient, and then he explodes
he
forward.
just takes his time.
Yeah, MVP.
Almost like he's just teasing them to come get him, and then he just jumps.
Yeah, totally.
And I think the announcers said they had the ability to watch him in practice and watch how quickly he was able to get out of the blocks.
Yeah, the guy's awesome. I'll say I'm a Seahawks fan from a distance because of my time in that city, but I did not fully appreciate how explosive he is as a runner because I just didn't. You don't get the opportunity to watch Seahawks play as often.
No, not on this side of the country. We don't get too many games, and he's the first running back MVP since Super Bowl 33.
Is that right?
Terrell Davis in 1999. So that says a lot.
Wow, didn't know that. Good stat there. The other thing that I thought was really interesting before we get into some of this other off the field mishmash is what's quarterback's name for Seattle? Tells us Darnold.
Darnold. Yeah.
I was struck by, and I said this out loud to the folks I was watching the game with last night. In the post-game interview, this kid has been discarded how many times from how many different teams. First player to ever play in the Super Bowl after being a starter for five. He started for 5 different teams and was fired by 5 different teams, right?
Yeah, kind of a rough start getting going. But then once he got to Minnesota.
Yeah. He was with the Jets. He was downright horrible. Yeah. But then 2 seasons in a row, first guy ever to go 14-3 with 2 different teams back to back.
Right.
Who in Minnesota made the decision to
let him go?
To fire him?
I know, that was a bad decision.
Oh, man, what a bunch of donkeys.
They
got exactly what they deserved with, wasn't it Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, it was Kirk Cousins.
And, he didn't.
And it was also the Penn State quarterback, right? That was playing through injury.
Oh man, well,
yeah.
They deserve for us not to remember who the hell we're talking about, but
not worthy of watching.
Yeah, they earned that. I got to say that as much as the Patriots, you've heard me say it before. I'm going to repeat it. I struggle to find good things to say about the city of Boston and the Patriots in particular. Same thing about the Bruins. But
we'll have to dig into that on a behind-the-scenes footage episode.
That safety, I think his name is Hernandez or Gonzalez or something. Played a great game. He had a bunch of really really high-end breakups that saved the Pats early, kept them in that game a little bit.
The breakup he got through the slow motion of it coming through the air, it was impressive.
Yeah, that dude played really well.
He did.
You got to call it out when you see it, even if it is talking New England.
I do want to go back to Walker, though. I thought he was the difference maker in the first half.
Totally.
Did you guys see the Babylon Bee today?
No.
They posted a picture of the Patriots, and the caption reads, "Patriots offensive line surprised to learn Super Bowl was yesterday."
Yeah, well, I think that probably appropriately sums it up. I mean, the way Walker ran all over the field, the second highest rusher was the streaker that got tackled. And I was shocked to see that wasn't you, Perry. To be honest, I thought you were going to try to do some promo for Better with Bourbon with us, but no.
Hey, listen,
I'm just too old to be able to run that fast.
Yeah, that guy was quick.
Oh, and that's what I was going to say. That streaker had wheels, and he had wheels because it wasn't just security. One of the Patriots players is like, okay, this guy's moving fast. I need to get involved.
We need to
run him down.
We need to help.
Yeah, and that's when he gave himself up on the 10-yard line.
Yeah, he took a slide, took the knee.
Yeah, dude with shoulder pads and a helmet's chasing me.
But that guy was built.
I thought he could have gotten to the end zone. I thought he could have gotten to the end zone. I mean, he wanted to run the clock out. I think he was getting the
maybe the Patriots could have hired him.
Yeah, well.
You know what kills me with this is, again, I sound like such an old man when I say this stuff, but that guy had somebody pay for the ticket, pay to get him there, is going to pay to get him out of jail because somebody made a giant Kalshi bet on what quarter the streaker was going to happen. Yep. Somebody put up on Polymarket.
It's all fixed.
And this leads me to where...
should that even be legal?
No, it shouldn't be.
Because if you and I can control that bet, right?
Yeah,
I don't see how that isn't one of the exceptions to the legal gambling. Because let's keep it on the field.
But that was a market that was made on Kalshi, and anything that you can have one person just be like, yeah, I can make this happen with it, and it's totally controllable by it's hard.
I'll split the winnings with you.
It'd be interesting to see what the numbers were bet on that.
You know what? We can maybe we should report back on that next week. That's actually a pretty good idea.
We should, because
where we're going to go with this conversation now is I just got some general comments about just the NFL. The NFL. You know, being from where we're from and having gold and black coursing through our veins the way it does, I was born in 1975 when the Steelers won their first Super Bowl, and I've never considered the Steelers anything but the greatest franchise in history at any point in my life, because they have been. Patriots had an opportunity last night to win their 7th. They didn't, and by doing so, they've become, actually, and this is kind of ironic for the Patriots, the losingest team in Super Bowl history. That was their 7th Super Bowl.
I was going to say that they've set the record for the most Super Bowl losses now.
That's right, and
as well as the most appearances.
Yeah, you got to think that goes hand in hand.
Yeah,
so respect where it's due. But it brings me a little bit of joy to say nobody's lost in the Super Bowl as much as the Patriots have. But generally,
I mean, Buffalo did a nice streak there.
I was going to say even more than Buffalo.
Right.
So I'm a little bit annoyed with the NFL.
What do you say?
The NFL, clearly, if you're a serious fan and you care about the game and you live in a town where other people care about the game, it feels to me like they are prioritizing growth at all cost over kind of any recognition that they might be kind of moving away from their core fan base. And there's a number of things that we can point out, which I am totally prepared to do.
Great. Let's get into it. I am too. And where do you see the growth happening? Or at least where the NFL thinks the growth is happening?
Well, listen, a couple of years, let's call it a decade, maybe 2 decades ago, the NFL made a very concerted push to get women involved in football, and I think that worked out really well for them. Okay, and it makes sense, and it's made our lives easier, because not every gal in the world is a football fan, but I think they've done a really good job of making the game more accessible and taking some of the acknowledgement of head injuries and some of the things that moms care about. And we're not going to kind of simplify women into one crowd, but they did a really good job, and they were successful in doing that. But if you look back at kind of the means that they've chosen over the last decade specifically, it generally coalesces around charging more money for the same product, expanding the game internationally in a way that degrades the experience for those at home. I mean, if we're Steelers fans, we lost a home game this year. Every time NFL wants to play a game in Europe or in Rio or, wherever, the teams that play one of those teams gives up a home game. Steelers gave up a home game this year in Dublin. I don't know one fan. I mean, I'm sure you're out there, God bless you if you are. I don't know anybody who's really in support of losing a home game.
Well, they're clearly trying to expand the market, right? So they're trying to grab interest from overseas, thinking that's going to increase viewership and increase interest, maybe increase merchandise sales.
Totally.
But will they have to change the name from NFL to, because it's the National Football League, it's not the International Football League?
Well, okay. So MLB has Canadian teams and is very well loved in the islands, Puerto Rico, the Caribbean.
Canadians are kind of the exception. I mean, Trump's even referenced them as the 51st state.
Basketball is, even though it's huge in Europe and Asia, we have Canadian teams. Baseball, even though it's we already did baseball. Yep. What was the other one? Soccer. Soccer is the king of the pile. Hockey, obviously, is popular everywhere. I think football, and Goodell in particular, has a hard-on for soccer, and he knows that soccer has come here and has stolen a little bit of his cheese, and that's not just during his reign. This has been going on for a long time.
It's an expanding market right now, and it's
right.
been ripe for that for a while.
They call it football. Around the world, they call it football, soccer. And, it's almost like he's trying to say, we'll show you what football really is.
I'd like to fight that trademark case.
Well, yeah, seriously, right? I mean, you get paid on that one. I think the global market for soccer is somewhere in the $30 to $35 billion range. Okay, but that's the whole globe, all leagues put together. Okay. Football right now, NFL's total revenue is about $23 billion. And we only play it in a handful of cities in the world. I mean, it's remarkable the amount of juice that they've squeezed out of this fruit. And still, the owners in Goodell are not satisfied. Now, I thought this was interesting.
Well, and unlike trying to focus on expanding into Canada, they've been focusing on everywhere else. So all the other Sunday morning, early morning games have been all around. I mean,
Madrid,
and name the Mexico,
one in Germany,
Ireland. You go all the way through the catalog, which they've done a nice job of getting around and trying to bring some exposure. Now, if it's just trying to bring awareness, I like it. But if they're trying to expand the league, then we got to reconsider what the league really is. Is this another AFL to NFL moment where we have to merge and go into something bigger? Because now it becomes the World Football League, not the National Football League.
That's an interesting point. I think what they're trying to do is be selective about certain clubs, because I didn't realize this until I did a little bit of reading. The Steelers, for instance, and might be the most obvious of all the teams in the league, have been given some degree of exclusivity to NFL, to the NFL brand in Ireland. Okay, and I didn't know that, but the Saints have the same in France. The Raiders have the same in Mexico. So it's interesting. It's an interesting model. I don't know what that means for potential expansion to potentially including leagues in Europe or South America. But when you think about maybe the Steelers and the Rooneys owning Ireland, it might that might be a tell that maybe they're not necessarily trying to expand and put a team in Ireland or in England or whatever.
Maybe not. Maybe it's just awareness and trying to bring it in, since now streaming services are readily available and you can stream this and you don't need to have the cable channels. And it's all about viewership. It's all about getting those eyes on your product.
Well, the streaming is one of the major problems I have. I got a major problem with the NFL going streaming.
I love it when you go off and you're streaming.
Yeah, and here's the use case. Everybody knows that we had two championship games prior to the Super Bowl, played just a handful of weeks ago, that were not available on regular broadcast TV. And it makes me want to vomit that little Timmy can say to Dad, "Hey, Dad, can we put on the NFL game?" And Dad be like, "Hey, buddy, we can't afford it this year."
No, we can't.
It makes me want to vomit.
Or Timmy, come on, we have to go to the bar to watch this one.
Yeah, right.
It's bad enough it costs an arm and a leg to go to a game in person, but then to be able to have to pay for it at home.
Now you're talking. The average cost.
What was the average cost of a Super Bowl ticket this year?
No. Here, the average cost, even forget about a Super Bowl. The average cost around the league for a family of four to go to a game is now between $750 and $800.
Yeah, that's significant.
Across the league.
Before you buy food.
No, that's the total cost.
Oh, okay.
The non-ticket costs, what they call the parking, it's the refreshment, the hot dog, the parking costs are north of $200. That's before you buy the tickets. This was shocking to me.
Yeah, well, did you see the $180 burger you could buy at the Super Bowl?
No, I did. A $180 hamburger.
$180.
Was that grade 5 Wagyu?
Well, it wasn't. Yeah, it was lamb. Kind of like what we're going to have this Thursday at our Bourbon Club at the end of the year. Yeah. It's not $180, though. I can tell you.
Don't forget to plug the greens.
Yeah, right. Yeah, best greens in the world, Indiana country. But look, this whole thing, it's not just the streaming, it's not just the international games, it's the grotesque embrace of all things gambling. I mean, how many commercials did we see for, FanDuel and DraftKings, and how many kids around the world are gambling money that they're taking from their parents or they don't have? How many? I mean, it's just.
Well, when we talk about inflation hitting, it obviously hits the Super Bowl most. Yeah. So the cost of a Super Bowl ticket, the cost of a Super Bowl commercial. I think the average commercial was $7 million.
Yeah, $7-8 million this year.
Yeah. So you have to have.
That's 30-second, Perry.
Yeah. That is.
Yeah.
So you have to have a war chest to dig into to feel like that's going to provide you value for, the rate of return for your investment. That's significant. So the audience there that can afford it has narrowed down. I was shocked it wasn't all pharmaceuticals. I was shocked it wasn't.
You mean the commercials?
Most of
the commercials. Yeah. So
here, hold on. We can talk about commercials. I want to do that, but I got some stats here that are really interesting. Right? Okay.
Yeah. Let's get back.
Hold on. This is real. Okay. So, 10 years ago, the NFL's distribution to individual franchises of shared revenue, which come from a percentage of merchandise sales and TV deals, okay, was right around just north of $200 million annually, okay. 10 years later, that has more than doubled, and it's pushing up toward I think it's $440 billion annually, so more than a double in 10 years. Okay, that's remarkable, and that's just for having a team. Okay, that's not even considering the local revenue that local teams get from services at games, parking, deals with the city, certain types of merchandise sales. So whatever Goodell's doing is working. And what owner is going to be like, nah, don't do it? It's interesting. They have Goodell has a stated goal of getting the league to $25 billion in total revenue by 2027. Yeah. And you know that if he achieves that, his pay package is shrouded in a lot of secrecy. But when that happens, he'll step away. We'll never see him again.
Kind of like Sam Darnold, he earned an extra $4 million based on his performance this year. So much like Roger Goodell, he is probably incentivized by how much he's going to bring in for the league, and now he's reaching at all straws. And my take on this is where I think the league should focus on, and that is a extra subscription service through the NFL app, where you can log in.
That's interesting.
And see a 4K camera on your favorite player's helmet.
Yeah, but who's not going to allow that to happen? Who's the NFL? Because they're going to sell that, and before they're going to do that, we have TV rights have been negotiated out to 2030. Right. Okay, so the next opportunity to negotiate TV rights is going to be in advance of that 2031 season.
Do you think this will be a violation of the TV contract they already have in place?
You know what? I didn't really think about it that way, but I'm sure the Players Association would want a really significant chunk of that, because then you're getting into individual players, contributing to the overall. I mean, they do anyway, but
it would be very easy to track since it's a metric player by player, on that regard. But
it's an interesting idea. It definitely is.
Well, and I think it would be something that's sellable. So, if you're asking us to, as a fan, to engage in something additional from all the different streaming services we now have to own to be able to watch the game, this is an enhanced. Now we can actually get into the person's helmet that's running through the line of scrimmage, that's getting tackled, that's going down the field, that's seeing the end zone as they cross the end zone. Whether they put audio there or not, that's another whole privacy concern. I'm sure the Players Association would have a big issue with, because what's
could damage the personal brand.
It is. So what's said on the field probably needs to stay on the field, right?
Yeah.
And we can respect that as
part of the game.
Former athletes, former a cappella singer. So how that goes when you're in the battle.
Okay, well, look, we got to take a technical break here. Our technology is about to burst into flames like the fire back there. So we're going to come back.
Perry just raised that size 13 stiletto it is.
All right, so
quick break.
We'll be right back.
What happens when work disappears? When money dissolves, and when freedom becomes something you earn, not something you're born with? A new kind of power is rising, not a government, not a corporation, but the algorithm. In the algorithmic state, no jobs, no money, little freedom. Amazon best-selling author Bradley J. Martineau reveals the world we're stepping into. A world where your reputation is computed, your opportunities are filtered, and your identity is shaped by systems that know you better than you know yourself. This is not science fiction. This is the operating manual of the future forming around us right now. If you want to understand the forces that will define power, belonging, and freedom in the decades ahead, start here. The algorithmic state, no jobs, no money, little freedom. Available now on Amazon.
treble, bass, or just
I was
hitter?
I was a tenor, but I'm not sure that really matters.
So what is a tenor? Maybe
that's the higher male voice.
That's the high voice
than a baritone or a bass. But
that's
in life,
that's the Michael Jackson.
Forget about a cappella. In life,
yeah.
I'm all about the bass, and I can take or leave.
Bass.
I can take or leave the treble. You know what I mean? Anyway, okay, so we're back. We're back. Better with Bourbon. We're going to tie up some of our conversation about the Super Bowl. I didn't realize that we had so much to damn talk about the Super Bowl. Most boring Super Bowl in years.
It was, but there was a lot going on outside, the Super Bowl and everything leading up to the NFL. I think that's the conversation.
So quick hitter for you.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 questions. Mm-hmm. What'd you think of the halftime show? What was your favorite commercial? Tackle them in whatever order you want.
I saw Nate. I have nothing to offer because I didn't see. I turned off the game probably halfway through the second quarter.
Oh man, so you really did miss halftime.
I missed everything from there on,
and a couple of good commercials too.
Yeah, I probably missed the good commercials. That's the only thing I was regretting. But I thought I was going to get some good feedback from my wife and daughter because they actually stuck it out. There was I guess there was a commercial that had all the stars of yesterday on that they liked. Joey, I think from Friends. I think dancing.
Yeah. That was the Duncan commercial with with
that one
with Affleck.
That one comes to mind since I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
Yeah. What
was your favorite?
Well, I would give you that the folks I was watching with, they were a little bit kind of like this on the commercials as well. How do you not like the Budweiser commercial with the horse and the eagle? I mean, they seem to get it right all the time.
They win every year.
Yeah, they get it right all the time, don't they?
They do. Yep, it's perfect.
I did think
you just say Budweiser gets it right all the time?
Well,
when it comes to Super Bowl commercials.
Right,
Bud Light, Bud.
But they are one and the same, aren't they?
Well, they treat them as 2 different brands.
Okay.
Thank goodness for it. And we got, I thought...
And Perry, trust me, I'm all about, you promoting Bud Light.
Yeah.
You can take the guy out of the dress, but you can't take the dress out of the guy. That's right. Okay.
That's right.
Hey, listen, the best commercial was the Coinbase commercial.
Oh.
I don't know if you saw it. It was really interesting because all it was a replay of the Backstreet Boys song. And there was no indication that it was about anything other than they would put the words up on the screen like it was karaoke. Did you see it?
I did see it, but I didn't realize it was Coinbase.
There was no indication it was for anything until the end when they just put up Coinbase. And I think the whole point was just to get everybody having fun because you couldn't see that and not be like, yeah, move your body.
So it was a
tenor. The tenor. Which Backstreet Boy would you have been?
God, I don't know their names, but
so it was a non-commercial commercial. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and it was super effective because when you saw it happen, everybody stopped. They were really colorful screen, words going across, and you had no idea it was.
It was effective because I said, I think the boy bands are making a comeback. We've seen, Backstreet
I sure hope
Boys
so, man. I sure hope so.
And saying they've been doing some, comeback concerts, whether it's in Vegas.
I haven't worn out my eligibility yet. You know what I mean? I'm still available if we want to throw together one.
You guys were burning CDs when you were at Wake Forest and that.
Hey, it's someday.
I'd like to see a reunion.
Yeah, right.
A reunion tour.
What'd you think of the? Okay, so no halftime show. No comment on the halftime show.
I didn't see either. I didn't see the halftime show. I saw comments on the halftime show.
Yep.
And I don't want to report on secondhand information. And then I saw comments on the alternative.
The alternative show.
And I didn't watch either. So I was already on. Yeah, I was tired, so I went to bed.
Yeah, I
was on to YouTube.
I didn't watch either one either. I was
Really?
editing video. Yeah, not so much of a nerd I am.
Damn straight.
Well, thank you, Perry.
These guys work me.
Here is a very non-politically aligned assessment of the halftime show. First of all, Bad Bunny is straight fire like Justin Bieber is. I mean, you can't question that. Whether you like the music or you what you think about him, the dude's talented and he gets it jumping. I don't mind reggaeton music at all. I do definitely understand how can you have 11 minutes of music in straight Spanish, in the middle of the Super Bowl. That's weird. But I think it goes back to this question about who's Goodell trying to appeal to? I mean, that's clearly a global play. That is clearly at the expense of your middle of the country USA traditional football fans and kind of plays into the theme that we were talking about earlier. But I got to tell you, I thought from an entertainment perspective, it was maybe the most entertaining halftime show I can remember. I mean, I couldn't name another one that
well,
would
that's where I'm
compare.
going to interject. So what I've seen online and what I saw as far as the highlights of the halftime show, the dancing, the production itself, the energy,
the straight rump shaking was inspirational.
And the message that he was sending, even though we couldn't understand Spanish, was powerful and I thought very good. And and there was a lot of positive feedback online. So, there
was none of the negativity there, brother. He didn't wear a dress. He didn't, have ice. He didn't. There was none of that. And I thought it was really good at the end where he's running. You could tell the thing's coming to a close, and there's all the flags behind. And they had the stars and stripes out there in front. And
good for them.
right. So it makes you wonder: is that because the NFL made him, or is it because he's a good guy and recognized the opportunity he had? Well, hopefully both. And I'm glad it didn't turn into anything but just an opportunity to have a bunch of people see reggaeton music who maybe wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's where I come from.
It doesn't seem like it was nearly as controversial as some people would wanted it to be.
And it was way more
they amped it
entertaining.
up to be that way. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was totally entertaining.
That's the word I was hearing too, is it was extremely entertaining.
Yeah, totally.
Better than expected. So the halftime show was a positive.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
The game itself,
Yeah, looking forward to the Super Bowl next year. Hopefully, our
hopefully
guys
the
are
Steelers
playing.
are back.
We get Aaron Rodgers in there.
Does it look like Aaron? Well, let's talk about that just for 1 second.
You want to? Oh, unscripted. Here we go.
Yeah, it's unscripted.
Yeah, totally unscripted.
Well, we're pretty much unscripted all the time. We got talking points, but we are not reading.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us your opinion? Because now with McCarthy and in the additions into the roster or into the coaching staff that they've made and the rumblings and the headlines. The Vegas odds seem to be looking at Aaron possibly coming back.
I think they wouldn't have hired McCarthy unless it was connected to his desire and willingness to be a Steeler another year and give it a go. I mean, the guy can clearly still play. I think the play calling last year was totally a frustration for him. And anybody who remembers I believe it was the Buffalo game where TV got a really great shot of him looking at the sideline and yelling at them very audibly, right. I got this.
Right.
He's telling them, leave me alone. Let me call the damn plays. You guys have no idea what you're doing.
I compare it to when we turned over the reins to Ben the last year or two. I mean, Aaron has been around the league. He's one of the smartest quarterbacks that's ever played the game, right?
Yeah.
He can dissect the game in real time. Let him call the game. I think he would have made Art Smith look like a genius.
Yeah, right. I'm not sure it was Art Smith's call, though. I think, unfortunately, I've been
maybe not
totally loyal to Tomlin for hundreds of years, and will find a way to defend him in any conversation. But that's clearly a Tomlinism, and I'm looking forward to a new beginning next year, even if it is with some of the oldest damn players in the league. I mean, if you can call that a new beginning with a 40-year-old quarterback, but and a 60-something-year-old coach, but.
Well, there's also rumors out there that possibly the play was for Willis, who's up in free agency from.
Well, I remember us talking about maybe taking him back into Kenny, when we ended up with Kenny Pickett.
Right.
And it seems like whoever made that call, the Steelers traditionally have had such a good eye for talent and draft and develop, traditionally, better than any other team in the league, particularly with those offensive players. You take a Hines Ward, who was a wide receiver, or was a quarterback, you turn him into a wide receiver. He should have gotten into the Hall of Fame, didn't, but will.
He will.
They found guys that other people passed on forever. James Harrison. Nobody wanted James Harrison coming out of Virginia Union. Turns into one of the most dominant, in his prime, one of the most dominant defensive players ever. And we could go through the ranks. We could name 20 more guys that the Steelers picked up and turned into.
Same thing.
And I want to get back to a place where we have, as fans, have the belief that they have an eye for unique talent and they have a unique way of developing middling talent, right? And I just haven't felt that in the last few years. So, yeah, I'm hopeful for the new beginning with McCarthy. And I love the fact that he picked up one of, one of these guys who has a connection here to the little town we sit in right now.
Oh, it was great to see Frank Sinetti get picked up onto the staff out of IUP's
it's
staff.
awesome.
It's a loss for IUP, but it seems to be a breeding ground for great coaches.
Totally. Yeah, you agree, Perry? Anything you want to add about the commercials? What'd you think? You good on halftime show? Did you like the reggaeton?
Were you looking for the dress?
I like the music. Don't really know anything about this bunny guy. I'm a bunny myself, as Brad has.
Well, I did text Perry before the game. I said, "Listen, there's only one bad bunny in my eyes."
He did. I could prove. I could post the text to prove it.
That's really good.
I didn't watch it, but it seems like it was, like I said, not nearly as controversial as I think a lot of people wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Including people very high up in our government. But it was the game was boring. I saw the commercial for the Budweiser commercial before the Super Bowl. It was awesome. It was amazing. I mean, if that doesn't give you a case of the feels, and you're dead.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Can I just say one more thing before we go off?
Of course.
The one thing I thought that was really good, and I did watch this, was the national anthem. I thought.
Oh yeah, great call. Holy heck!
I thought he was, other than maybe a Whitney Houston,
the greatest national anthem of all time.
Yeah, I mean, which is a very hard threshold to ever try to meet.
Well,
right?
he was really effing good.
His version of it and the way he did it. It was heartfelt, it was pure, and it just made you feel so American.
I am not a big fan of people taking artistic license or liberties with the national anthem. I'm a traditionalist. I like it.
Yeah, I agree.
The way it was originally written, maybe a little flair here and there. I thought that one was good. Whitney Houston was probably the best. But
it's the best. It's the best rendition of the national anthem
amazing.
Recorded, and the fact that it was in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's
next to Roseanne Barr.
Well, okay. Here's a quick.
That wasn't at the Super Bowl, though, was it?
No, it wasn't.
In 1996 or 7, Wake Forest at the time was the number 2 team in the country. I believe we were going to play Georgia Tech.
In a cappella? Or
no, hold on. And the number 1 team in the country, I believe, was Carolina, and they had lost on Sunday. We're playing. They had lost on Friday. We're playing on Sunday. It's like the game of the week, televised, 12:30 tip. The a cappella group gets the call to come sing the national anthem.
There it is.
There
you go.
Yeah, right. And so we go down and we take it very seriously. And we have like 14 voices standing around a couple of microphones. It's like our opportunity to do it. We rip through the national anthem, overwhelming applause. I'd never seen anybody throw flowers onto the court for for the a cappella guys singing the anthem. But
who brings flowers to a basketball game?
Well, right. Our fan base was massive. I mean, it was Timmy Duncan was here. We were just like right here on campus. But just the punchline here is that we lost, and we did not become the number 1 team in the country. And that was the last time we were invited to sing the national anthem, which was a damn shame.
That's pretty cool that you got to sing the national anthem, and we're asked to sing the national anthem. It's such a big...
Yeah, it was cool.
So little plug for our little corner of the world here. At the girls' basketball games I've been attending for my stepson's girlfriend plays, they play the national anthem that was sung by Ed Parks, who graduated Indiana High School in 2000 or early 2000s. I don't remember exactly the name, the year, but he's a Grammy Award-winning opera singer.
Right.
Have you heard of this guy?
Yeah.
I got to get my hands on this. They play it in the auditorium at the high school before the games.
I haven't heard it with
just brings the walls down. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And it's a cappella, no music, nothing.
That's
the way it should be.
Yeah,
that's the way it should be.
I'll get my hands on that.
We'll bring some clips
share
in from our karaoke a cappella times too. We're rocking some songs.
That's right.
I don't know if you guys can tell if you're still watching. I'm not sure everybody is, but
probably not.
The bourbon-o-meter is
the bourbon barometer
is falling.
Yeah, bourbon-o-meter, a new phrase was just coined. I like it.
Just coined.
The bourbon barometer is sinking. So
a good sign.
Probably time for us to cut this off. What's left for the broadcast here?
So what's left is that we had such a great discussion with the NIL expert in the United States, Eddie Edwards, last week, that we went on for so long that we decided to bring you the second half of our discussion, and so we're gonna pair that in from here and finish this episode on with our discussion with Eddie last week. I think it's very informative.
He's so smooth; it would be a shame to waste that content.
He is so smooth. And speaking of that, he is starting his own podcast here in a few weeks.
Yep.
It's going to be called Stars and Suits. I helped him do the logo. I did add that little formality of the tie to the microphone, so that is coming from your one and only marketing.
Yeah, but his intro music, his theme music ain't gonna be like ours.
It's gonna be hard to beat.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to beat.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe enlist us to help him create an original
For a fee.
Nah. Anyways, check out Stars and Suits. It's going to be awesome because Eddie's going to have some great guests on. But we are going to finish this up with our second half of Eddie. Here's to Everything's Better with Bourbon.
Enjoy, Eddie.
Yeah.
See you soon.
We can say that we're getting the bunny ears.
Yeah, totally. Okay, hey, we're back. The fire is stoked. We have refilled the glasses. You all who are following the
bourbon barometer.
It's getting low.
The barometer is coming down.
It's getting
temperature's going up.
Right. So this has been fascinating so far, Eddie. I'm starting to understand this a little better, starting to formulate some questions I want to ask you. What do we need to know next? What's next?
So let's recap. I think that's probably the best place to start, especially for those people who may not have been able to visit with us last week.
That's right.
So details of the House settlement. And again, as I mentioned before, the College Sports Commission has a great website that you could just yank a lot of this information off of. Because remember, this is a part of a settlement. We don't have a federal law in place yet.
And when you say House settlement, that is the name of the case,
Name
right?
of the case, one of the lead plaintiffs.
It's not related to the Congress or
nothing like that.
Yep.
So they give some summaries, and I'm going to read those verbatim just to get our listeners back on point.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So
this is where the Sports Illustrated days came in play.
This is where I learned how to read. So institutional payments to student athletes. Schools are permitted to distribute payments and additional benefits to student athletes up to $20.5 million in the first year, derived from an annual percentage of broadcast, sponsorship, and ticket sale revenues. The amount has an annual escalator and will be adjusted every 3 years based on average A5 schools' revenues. So it's important as a baseline for listeners to understand.
Yeah.
Back damages. We said in excess of 2.5 last week, but it's actually 2.77 billion paid out to current and former athletes over a 10-year period.
Whoa!
Now,
wow!
I do want to have a little caveat there.
Yeah.
So these student athletes have these rights to these back revenues that you get over a 10-year period, and this is capitalism at its finest. There are companies reaching out to these student athletes right now, saying, "I'd like to buy the right to that revenue for an amount certain right now."
It's like that little jingle on that commercial, right?
So it's almost like insurance. Insurance. Your death benefit is this, but we'll give you this right now, and you assign me the right. This is happening with athletes right now, and I get calls from people that we represent saying, "Eddie, somebody just called and said, I know you're going to get paid this over 10 years, but I'd be willing to give you 50% of that certain right now for that right, and we'll just collect it over the 10-year period."
Right.
Hedge funds.
Crazy, right?
It's
but
pay up front.
Again,
it's an annuity.
We're not rendering legal advice, and I love your disclaimer at the beginning because we're attorneys and we're not doing that. But what I would say to anybody listening that knows somebody that's has this right, please seek a
competent
attorney.
counsel. Yeah,
please seek legal advice on how this actually works.
And make sure you're not getting taken advantage of by somebody that's throwing a number that seems big right now because you're not having to wait 10 years. But it's fair.
Right. I mean, and some people's financial position may dictate something different.
So certainly, personal circumstances always dictate the settlement.
Absolutely.
Right? So, but
and it happens in litigation, right?
It does. So, but I would think that you want to talk it through and make sure you're making an educated and informed decision.
Absolutely. And then full release of claims for compensation or scholarships by current and former student athletes. So, you take the settlement, you get the money over 10 years, you're going to have a release. Not unlike any other settlement agreement that Brad and I have seen in matters that we've handled.
Speaking of releases, I just had to do a release for Perry's OnlyFans because I was signing up for his OnlyFans account for the Perry's Bunny Paradise.
Here we go.
And they made me have to get a release from him to do his AI parody that we're doing. And it was one of the weirdest legal work I had to do is go over this release. I had to create this disclaimer. But anyways, I know I'm off track a little bit, but Perry's bunny ears over there just catch me every time. So
it's hard to ignore.
It is hard to ignore.
It's hard to ignore the story. NIL rights and clarity. Athletes may continue to license. So when you hear license, right, that's intellectual.
It is intellectual property,
right?
Which is an admission.
Athletes may continue to license their NIL rights to third-party entities, subject to review through new clearinghouse platform, NIL Go. We talked about that in the last episode, right? NIL Go is that clearinghouse. And then it just talks about the scholarship and roster limits. NCAA Division I scholarship limits will be eliminated and replaced with roster limits in each NCAA-sponsored sport. Institutions may offer scholarships up to the established roster limits, creating opportunity for hundreds of new scholarships. Again, Olympic sports, non-revenue generating sports, opportunities for so it's not all bad, but those extra scholarships come out of the rev share. Schools may add to their rosters without counting against roster limits student athletes who would have lost their roster spot due to the settlement roster limits. This was actually really important because one of the big issues was, well, what if you had kids that were there already? Are they going to get squeezed out of their spot?
Are they?
They were grandfathered in. No, there was a notice requirement. You had to list who those individuals were, and they got to keep their spot. Now that doesn't hold forever.
As we're talking about this settlement, why the 10-year? What was magical about 10-year? Do you know?
No, I don't know specifically what was. I mean, it's paid over 10 years. So
well, and I'm talking about they looked back 10 years.
Yeah, I don't. To be frank with you,
to give the athletes that are out of
that exactly
was
where they made the cutoff, because I mean, when you
was there a statute of limitations that they were looking at that was a magical number?
I guess potentially.
Because I mean, here I'm thinking about the guys that are on the 11 and 12 that were just absolute
think about
stud athletes or ladies that were stud
90s,
athletes.
right.
Why weren't they benefiting from this? And why would we not go all the way back? Because, in all fairness, and I know you're in the sports arena, I'm not really, but they got robbed.
Well, I mean, I think there's athletes to this day that are saying, no, why wasn't I made a part of that settlement?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, we mentioned, one of our dear friends earlier who was a stud, and I could only imagine what he would have gotten,
right,
if he was available to get NIL in his day. So again,
can you imagine what you'd have been able to get Deacon at?
I mean,
at Wake Forest Acapella.
I think I may have been able to get Deacon a good sum.
I mean,
he's talented. I've heard him sing.
No, he is.
I've seen him golf and sing.
No, I mean it's hard to believe he's an.
That's coming up on a future episode.
It will. I mean,
on the next episode.
We will
listen to all this fast thinking. It makes me want to do some smooth drinking. I'll tell you.
Well, but Brad, I mean,
get back to what you're good at, Mitchell.
I think another interesting point is, and you and I, so Brad and I have these discussions, whether it's over dinner, over coffee, on the golf course.
Bourbon dinners.
We're hanging out bourbon dinners.
Yeah, we got to get you up here again for bourbon dinner. It's been
glad. I mean, and that's great. The fellowship at Indiana Country Club is amazing. You have some really good individuals that come. They share some phenomenal bourbons.
And that's kind of how this came into play too.
That's exactly how this came into play.
One of the first bourbon clubs I brought you into, you had brought in the Rowan with you. You also brought in 2 or 3 others, and we dove into it. Got our wrists slapped because we were not serving it properly, but we
there's no wrong way to serve this, I can tell you.
We adjusted. We know we want to follow the rules. We just don't know all the rules all the time, right?
Exactly. Right.
We'll find them.
You'll get there. We're rule followers, so we will research and we will hear.
That's right.
These guys are rule followers.
So, one of the questions I always get interesting is people say, Eddie, how did you handle, opportunities with student athletes before?
Sorry about that, Eddie.
The house settlement. Like
Deacon finally got his call.
So what did that look like, right, before house settlement? And when you were dealing with the collectives, and it was interesting. You always hear the moniker Wild West.
Yeah,
it truly was the Wild West. Because there's no caps.
Yeah, right.
I saw a quote. I told Brad about this earlier. There's a quote.
And it
was flying a plane while you're building it.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's
right.
That's a great quote, right?
So you're just flying a plane while you're building it.
You're the Wright brothers.
You're the Wright brothers, and there were literally states were passing individual state laws allowing for the exploitation of the name, image, and likeness. Mm-hmm. So there were no guardrails.
Now, Eddie, I know you're very humble and you won't say it, so I'm going to say it for you. But you have negotiated more NIL collective deals.
Done a lot.
If you aren't the most, you're definitely.
I've done a lot. But you know what? Here's what I'll say. There are a lot of good lawyers out there that are excellent at what they do. But you remember, agencies do this too. It's not just lawyers. So there are a lot of good people doing good work on behalf of student athletes. I'm fortunate because I know people.
You know how I know you're good at this? Because immediately upon us promoting this, that you were going to come on and talk about this, somebody that we all three know very well and is a good friend of the pod, we're probably going to have him on, wrote me immediately and said, you got to be shitting me. You're talking NIL and you're having Eddie Edwards on?
Yeah, right?
I thought we were friends. You could probably guess who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You used to work with him.
Yeah.
Should we say it?
Yeah, go say it.
We love you, Dave Franklin.
Yes.
Love you, Dave Franklin. We're going to have you on.
Dave.
And Franklin.
Franklin and I go back because, he was one of my, in fact, he did my corporate work, and I'm going to break the client attorney privilege, Dave, and I'm sorry. So I'm going to go there on buyincomeproperties.com. When I did that back in the day, I went to Dave. We worked at Reed Smith together. He's such a respected,
there are some excellent minds out there. David Franklin is one of them.
Yeah.
I see him.
You're
I've known him for a long time. No, I love Franklin. He's a good man.
He's
a good lawyer.
He's one of my favorite damn people in the world.
And he's the kind of guy you can have a bourbon with and enjoy talking about the day.
He's the kind of guy who will have bourbon all day, every day.
Well, and he's the kind of guy that could be fitting in Indiana. Dave, you need to move to Indiana.
There are a ton of student athletes out there.
Yeah.
So there's more student athletes and more work to do than there are lawyers. And there's more work to do than there are competent lawyers probably to do some of this work, because you really have to involve yourself in the bricks and mortar of how this works. Like, you just can't wake up and say, all right, I got my number, and the kid's there.
You can't.
We're good. The devil's in the details. So you
It
have
always
to
is.
pay attention to the details.
But the details also come from the experience. And
you have to see deals to know deals.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to go through the.
Here's where this can get off track.
Because there's no master class in how to negotiate, right?
So if somebody's advising you, are they really foreseeing what can happen?
You have to anticipate. Look, as you know, I'm at Dinsmore and Scholl, national firm.
Great firm.
700 plus lawyers.
So
we have a robust
sounds really
intellectual property group. They're amazing, right? And
we're going to get your hair. Your little pompadour.
And we're lucky. Our managing partner is an IP attorney.
Yeah, so
with a student athlete who's one of the top soccer players in Ohio.
Hey, Deacon actually played soccer up till third grade.
There is we realize the importance of this area of law, what it means to families and student athletes. So what's great is we can break apart these agreements in a way that probably most others can't. Right, and I'm gonna give shout outs to April Bezel, Jessica Goodell,
right,
two of the best. I get my IP provisions.
Yep,
they break it down for me. Very fortunate. And you know him.
Yeah,
you have Jim Zezetek, who's one of the foremost authorities in NCAA law.
Really is,
and Nick Godfrey.
Yep,
two of our partners there who do it. So
you're bringing back all these warm feelings when I had in Pittsburgh when I was hanging out with all these guys.
Right? But these are top notch minds who we have working on these agreements on behalf of student athletes. So, again, devil's in the details. Now, I was going back to the NIL stuff before, and again, the collective deals.
That's right.
Third-party collective. So before there was the third-party deals.
That's right. So let's dive into that. So talk about how it was before.
Again,
first of all, what is a collective?
Yeah, what is a collective?
So a collective was an entity that would
a separate entity, right?
It wasn't the school. It's separate from the school.
Separate
from the school.
It's not the kid.
That would facilitate either deals for the student athletes, or the entity would have their own deals that they would get the student athlete involved in as well. Mm-hmm. Because if it was for the school, they could have speaking engagements, things of that nature that they could connect the student athlete with, so that they could earn.
So this is essentially a financial vehicle. Yep. That can transfer, has the ability, based on these rulings, to transfer money to the student athlete.
Not transfer.
Yeah, that's the distinction, because it has to be a legitimate business purpose.
It's a legitimate business purpose. So these student athletes had to do things to earn those dollars.
That's right.
It's the exploitation. Again, remember, this is an intellectual property right. They're licensing that intellectual property for this collective, whoever, to utilize, and they can monetize it. Now, whether it was, we're going to have you work at our golf outings, speaking engagements, appearances, whatever, right? And again, it was interesting because, you can't enter into these agreements prior to getting to that college university, or it's an inducement.
That's right. So you still have that
a level
barrier.
of a barrier to get the student athlete to the point where they could go to the college or university before they're executing this agreement.
Eddie, have you seen?
It's interesting.
As part of this collective, have you seen, besides the name, image, like? So I'm thinking you have. Are there shoe deals? Apparel deals?
Well, now there are. I mean, obviously, the when you look at third-party agreements, the shoe companies have gotten deals with, Juju Watkins is Jordan, and
is that all going through the collectives?
No, those can be direct deals.
So those are direct deals. So
because you don't have to.
Is that coming? So what is the collective doing? What is
well?
that?
The collectives aren't as prominent as they once were, if at all. Some of them have been absorbed by the actual athletic departments, and they no longer exist.
Why is that?
What you have now?
Why did they absorb them? And how did they? How could they absorb them?
This is after post-house settlement. Everything is getting tightened up, right? So now you have to have a designated. Third, like when I went through that, you have to know who the payor is. You have to have a valid business purpose, right?
Mm-hmm. Let me create a hypothetical. This is
so what they're doing now. Let me just make this point. What's occurring now is you have your rev share that you're doing through the university, and now the university can have marketing arms or arms that help facilitate these real, actual third party deals. With the student athletes that are valid business deals.
Yep.
Right, because again,
makes sense.
This isn't pay for play.
Yep.
Right. This isn't. We're not paying these kids for what they perform on field. And this goes back to when I say this isn't pay for play. I mean, you've brought this up to me a zillion times. Eddie, what about the employment aspect? Because what people don't realize is these kids get paid as 1099s.
Right.
Whole different issue there with taxes. Right?
And let me just go off on a little tangent there, because if we were to evaluate as very strict looking attorneys at the independent contractor laws, and any business owner out there would know that's acting as an independent contractor. You have all these checkpoints. Do you have your own equipment? Are you allowed to deal with a different client?
Come and go as you please.
Come and go as you please. And I'm sure listeners that are talking, and I'm just as I'm talking to you with a couple bourbons in me, they don't.
I've heard plenty of arguments for and against.
I think it's the white elephant in the room.
I think it has to be. I think. Look, read an article about Colorado wanting to fine their players. If you're late for practice, if you do these things, and does that mean that they're now employees? Because it's are you an independent contractor? Again, comes and goes as they please. If I have to be somewhere at date time, does that change the characters of what that individual is and how that contract is supposed to work? So
using their equipment
again, this is going back to the arguments. Do we need a unified law out there? And this is the heart of the matter, because everything's scrambled up right now, right? We were talking about the fragmented laws. We're talking about the House settlement. We're talking about Alston in the foresight that Justice Kavanaugh has is, are they employers? Are they not employers? So maybe what needs to happen is that we need some real legislation out there that sets the tone as to what makes sense for everybody. Right.
Through our politicians that we elect.
But it shouldn't be politicized.
Well, it shouldn't be, but I think
it's got to be. Look, I think this is good for everybody.
No, I agree.
So I'm not pro student athlete, pro institution.
Neither am I.
I'm pro great system so that everybody wins.
You're trying to lubricate the.
But how do so Eddie? I'll challenge you. How do we otherwise get a system that fits and is not going to be challenged again in the courts? And it's not going to be
Look, you have people who say, to speculate, should there be collective bargaining, right? So that's what makes the NFL, that's what makes the NBA, the NHL, right?
So maybe
they have player association.
So maybe it goes unionized.
But how do you do that?
Right.
right? You got to get all these student athletes to agree to be unionized.
So now you just said we're going unionized.
The interests may or may not be aligned.
Right. So now you said we're going unionized, which just acknowledges they are employees, which is the white elephant in the room.
That's an interesting...
Which I'm saying that we're arguing over this because college athletics does not want to be an employer, even though they're benefiting.
But they are an employer.
But they are.
You're saying.
Yeah, because they're controlling every moment, and they're going to control every aspect. Mm-hmm. And
why would they not want to do that? It brings into questions about workers' comp.
You have payroll taxes, you have workers' comp, you have health insurance, disability, all that, which I would argue, and Eddie, you and I were talking about this before we went on air. There's some of the great Willis McGahee. You know, that's one of the greatest examples of a college athlete that was destined for greatness. I mean, just the top of the top.
And then his leg got cut.
And his leg got cut in half.
Oh, it's one of the most graphic.
Yeah, right. And so, what does he get for it?
Well, I mean, Willis McGahee, right? He was insured.
Did he collect on that insurance policy?
If he collected on the insurance policy, then he couldn't play in the league.
And see, now we're getting into a whole different issue.
Because that made him a professional.
Well, no, it didn't make him a professional.
No, but he acknowledged he wasn't disabled.
Then you acknowledge you're not disabled.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
So, but I would argue this, because you said there was experts that went into that, right? Into that evaluation of every disability policy.
Right. So when they issue those disability policies, I mean, and again, I'm not that person that does that.
No, you're not.
But they have experts that can project out who the athlete is, where they projected to get,
where the value lies, right?
Where the value lies. So you could, if they are disabled, like what are we insuring for?
So he decided there wasn't. If he collected, he would be obstructed from playing. I guess my argument with the insurance companies right now, and I have so many arguments, but we'll keep going down there, is that there is a swath of what Willis McGahee was before that knee got injured and what he is after. And I would like to have those same experts that evaluated him before that, evaluate him afterwards, and he should be able to collect on that little bit of difference where his contract was and what it should have been and what it is now. That's just my little pulpit of bourbon.
What else we need to know?
Look, well, again, you need to know moving forward that, I think where some of the schools were able to benefit prior to the House settlement, starting July 1st, when we were still under kind of the pre-House settlement, and, there was a little bit more freedom with the collectives with these student athletes, that's going to change the way that you structure your athletic departments, through rev share moving forward, right? So I think that, when young people say I want to be involved in sports, like I tell people, I'm involved in pro sports as much as anybody else. And I have been for almost 25 years. It's been a tremendous ride. You find where you fit, right? So if I'm a young person and I want to, maybe I'm not a Division I athlete, but I want to work in a Division I environment.
I thought you were.
No, not close. My kids were. But I think you can find a way in. You could be now, a GM, so to speak. You can crunch numbers, be an evaluator, work in different aspects of this with a college, university, or one of the third parties, or one of the marketing arms that are helping facilitate, these student athletes finding opportunities. I think it's created a bold new world, and it's making student athletes think now, right? So who's the competition for these guys in these marketing type deals, right? It's the influencers, right? These are as I learned a term from my daughter, and I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but I didn't even know it existed. Maybe you guys did. NARP. Did you ever hear the word NARP?
No.
Non-athletic regular person.
Oh.
Yeah, we know a lot of those. We know a lot of those.
I didn't know that.
Don't say that. I mean, the way your calves and thighs
I didn't know
show through those.
Know what that was. But those individuals who are not athletes, but they're talented at other things and academics, and they can now be involved in that sports world just as much as the athletes. And
there's a lot of new business opportunities connecting the various pieces of this new ecosystem,
right? And the
relationships.
You know what it's called? Right, yeah. It's called fantasy. You can be the GM of a fantasy league. You can be the agent of a fantasy league.
Well, I mean, that if you look at the trends, a lot of those guys who did really well, sabermetrics wise and all the numbers, they're getting tremendous opportunities with leagues now.
They are
as GMs,
right?
And it's getting younger and younger. But
isn't the fantasy, and that was before we even brought pro sporting betting into play legally. Fantasy is like kind of doing that. You're picking players.
To some extent, yeah.
Yeah, you're picking the best talent, right? And you're trying to
you're merging it together and
putting together
your roster. And
I think these guys are naturals, girls are naturals that are able to pick out the best talent. And
there's opportunity there. But what I was going back with the influencer is, the student athletes are competing with the influencers on third-party opportunities.
Dollars. Yeah, right.
Because it's brand. Right. So, where I, suggest.
So Viore might have done business with Livy Dunn when she was an athlete under the statutes that you're talking about, the agreements that you're talking about. But now she's not an athlete anymore. She might be taking those dollars away from the next NCAA gymnast, right?
Are you telling me she can't do
it?
It
doesn't have to be the gymnast. When
you're
evaluating, right?
Are you telling me
Livy Dunn happened to be a gymnast for LSU.
Right.
But let's say there's another influencer who has a significant social media following, and now I'm whatever, athleisure company, and I'm like, where am I going to get the best bang for my buck?
I still think she's an athlete.
Right.
I'm just going to put it.
She's definitely an athlete.
But you're going to get the most. You're going to get the most bang for your buck, right?
Yeah,
Perry agrees.
So Perry has a lot of respect for her. I mean,
well, I mean, the truth is, you were talking about this earlier. She's not like necessarily a standout gymnast. She was good, but
good enough to go to LSU.
She was bringing in the NIL money.
She had influence.
Because
her numbers,
of her gymnastics.
But you have to give all of those young people credit.
Yep.
Because you have
100%.
to work at that.
Oh.
Right. So people, Brad, you saw it.
No,
I saw it with me.
I have.
Like when we would finish some games and a team like UConn, the following was unbelievable of the fans that were waiting for those young ladies to leave the gym to get autographs and everything.
Right.
And they work at posting stuff on a regular and consistent basis to keep that base growing. You're pulling back the curtain and showing the human side of you.
And Eddie,
right? That's effort, man. That's real effort.
It's real effort. And over the years, I've been doing the same thing. I had 250,000 followers on my completely offensively, and I got kicked off a meta because I was too offensive. I had to restart all over again and build up another 250,000 followers on funny memes, and I was a little more cognizant of their standards, and we built it up. And it's work. It's real work.
But what did we talk about today? What did you tell me how long you spent daily on the clips, on the promotions, all that stuff?
I can tell you he spends all day on this show.
Yeah. And all night.
I concur.
And that's real stuff.
And he knows too. And even our business. I mean, I'm texting you guys at night. You guys all know. But that's how you. I'm not trying to say how you do it, but that's how you do it. You have to do what is necessary.
But they have a phone now, and they can monetize that name, image, and likeness using a phone. Right. So I mean, doing whatever dance you're doing whatever. This is my pregame routine. This is my pregame fit.
Here's what
whatever.
I eat before
and
I
now,
compete.
Exactly right. And now you build a follower base, and now you're starting to tag these institutions, these businesses, and they're looking at it saying, wow, this guy eats my stuff before every game, and he has 1 million followers. Right. That's somebody that we could do a deal with.
No brainer.
Because it's not just the fact of you being that athlete.
I've been tagging Deacon with Crocs, and I've got nowhere. I mean, just zero.
Well, I think
with the stockings with Perry, I've gotten.
Maybe you should try Cartier or like Cashmere Slippers.
Okay. Brad, I would venture to say after this episode, after your viewership goes up, then that Crocs deal is coming.
Yeah, I hope so.
That Crocs deal is coming.
I promised him that much.
He's counting on you, Eddie.
We need somebody to negotiate that.
So
I got you.
So close this up for us a little bit. Land this plane.
Land this plane back. Where do you see an NIL going?
I'm going to try to suggest that Brad allow you at least 2 minutes. Without some nonsensical offshoot, just go ahead and speak your piece.
So Brad knows I wrote
Maybe
an editorial that I had published in the Baltimore Sun that just basically said we need a leader. We need someone somewhere to step up, whether it's the NCAA, whether it's the member institutions, whether it's the federal government, whether it's everybody involved, everybody coming together. But we need some kind of uniform guidance that tries to even the playing field. Where do I have concerns? And this isn't as a lawyer, this is just as a fan of the game and as an observer, is, where is this going to put our mid-majors and low majors? right? I mean, you talk about revenue generating, you're talking about access to ticket sales, sponsorship dollars, right, and media revenues.
All legitimate.
Well, the mid and low majors, I don't know that they could keep up. I mean, there was an article recently, Brad, you brought this up earlier about Rutgers.
Yeah.
Operating at a deficit, right? How long?
And they're a Big Ten school.
You're a finance guy, Deacon. How long before that's unsustainable?
And thank you, Bert, for sending that to me.
That's a great point of connectivity. You can have the best idea in the world. You can have people willing to fund it. If there's not a funding model that facilitates it legally,
well,
where is everybody, right? And look, we get a few minutes.
I know, but Perry just gave us the bunny ears.
The bunny ears, yeah.
But I will say this: we can ask about what happens to the mid majors and the lowers, but do we have a say in that, or are we legally bound by what happens, and we just have to deal with the results?
Meaning the student athletes?
Yeah, well, the way
it's a great question, and I know we talked about this a little bit in the break, but who is going to be bound unless there's a uniform law?
That's right.
Because when we talk about settlements,
and that's where
part of a settlement class, if you're not a college student athlete at the time, are you not bound by the settlement?
That's right.
Right. So parents at home, your kids thinking about going to school, does this stuff apply to them? Were they really part of the settlement that Eddie walked us through? It's a really great question. We'll figure it out.
And we need a uniform law.
We got a break.
I know. We're going to have to take a break.
What happens when work disappears, when money dissolves, and when freedom becomes something you earn, not something you're born with? A new kind of power is rising, not a government, not a corporation, but the algorithm. In the algorithmic state, no jobs, no money, little freedom. Amazon best-selling author Bradley J. Martineau reveals the world we're stepping into. A world where your reputation is computed, your opportunities are filtered, and your identity is shaped by systems that know you better than you know yourself. This is not science fiction. This is the operating manual of the future forming around us right now. If you want to understand the forces that will define power, belonging, and freedom in the decades ahead, start here. The algorithmic state, no jobs, no money, little freedom. Available now on Amazon.
All right, folks, thanks for sticking with us. We got the fire stoked. We got our drinks are getting low. We get a lot of good questions that we want to ask, but I think it'd be interesting. Perry has a good one that he thought was interesting.
And before Perry does, can I just make one point of clarity?
Yeah, go.
Because as a lawyer, you want to be as precise as humanly possible. And Brad asked me a question earlier, like, why the cutoff, the 10-year, all that good stuff as it relates to the House settlement. So I had to look.
Yeah, that 10-year.
I had to look, and
that's why you're so good.
It's the earliest point that the plaintiffs could legally reach back and still recover antitrust damages, which is about the statute of limitations, continuing harm, and what the court would accept as a defensible class period. So because it was filed in 2020, it's 4 years back. Which is 2016. So I knew the 2016 date. And I think I mentioned that.
Arbitrary.
You did. Yeah, and I knew that because, again, when I had 3 student athletes in my house, when they were able to file to be a part of the class for the settlement, I knew, my oldest son had 2 years he could file for. He's 2016, he graduated 2018, so there was years in there. The middle didn't matter, service academy, but I knew my daughter was fully in that class. So again, I just wanted to, as a point of clarity, we're lawyers. We don't want to seem like we're uninformed, but just so you guys know, this is live podcasting. So I didn't necessarily know all the questions that would come at me, and as prepared as humanly possibly be.
No, but that's what makes a great lawyer. You find the
I wanted to go and look because I didn't want to look. In the real world, we're always informed because we always have the ability to prepare and do certain things. So, Brad, I just wanted to answer you.
Thank you.
In a manner
that's very important.
That was
I
correct.
think our listeners will like that.
So, for the non-attorneys, what you're saying is there is some legal precedent that is in play here, even though this isn't law.
Well, no, that went back to the Clayton Act and when you can ask for damages as far as these types of cases, antitrust cases. So that's why it was filed in 2020. The 4-year look back, 2016.
That's as much as they could go back if they won in court 100%.
So that I just wanted to put that out there.
Thanks.
He asked me the question, and again, I like to be as informed as possible.
Even though it took us 45 minutes to
get it took me long to get there.
Yeah, right. Okay,
and by the way, you were still not getting a Super Bowl pick.
Yeah, right.
So there you go.
Perry's got a great question.
Perry has a great question
that I think a lot of people will be interested to hear.
Can Bunny
has
wearing
nothing to do with
ears
Bunny.
and his Bunny wearing tail and stockings and size 13 stilettos still get agent deals?
So it has nothing to do with Bunny. My question is, the conversation around NIL is always centered around D1 athletes. So what about D2 athletes, D3 athletes, possibly even down to the high school level? I mean, is that part of the settlement, A, and B, is that part of the conversation moving forward? Are there, incentives there to help these athletes move up, possibly to D1, or how does that look? Is that even part of the conversation?
Perry, they told me you got one question. That was about 5.
Well, okay,
but they were all very good.
We've been
all very
I'm talking
good.
to a bunch of attorneys here, so I have to
all very. I think I'll just kind of group it together in one way. I think, for the Division II, Division III, and NII athletes, it creates opportunity, because I know from the talent evaluation perspective, there have been some tremendous success stories of student athletes who are at the Division II, Division III, lower levels, who've been able to benefit now through NIL exploitation and rev share deals and the like, because they performed at a level that a Division I coach felt like you could help their program. Now, I do share concern, not legal, but just, this is, you have to differentiate it. A lot of times say you can't take one hat off and put on the other hat, but I'm a parent.
Yeah, right. Social culturally, it might be a different
I'm
answer.
a parent,
Yeah,
at the end of the day. And if I had a student athlete that was in high school, the landscape has changed a little bit, because, when you're looking at a set amount of roster spots and you're looking to fill them, Brad, I think you hit the nail on the head. You want certainty as a coach. So coaches may be more prone to evaluate student athletes in the portal versus incoming high school freshmen.
Well, and I think it's impacted the recruiting process that we used to know.
And I think
it evolved from the senior year or junior year to college.
I think it's part of the strategy now. I'm sure that everybody has a way of doing things and a strategy behind it, but I'm sure when you're looking at available roster spots for your next year's class, there may be institutions that say, or programs that say, I shouldn't say institutions because the programs are within the institution, that say, all right, we want X amount of portal athletes and X amount of incoming freshmen.
Just organic recruits, like always.
Organic recruits, like always. But here's the problem. Here's the crux of the problem when you view it that way. Nobody's bound to stay. Right. So every year somebody get the portal. So the problem is you could bring in a freshman, and traditionally with freshmen, it's a process. Very few freshmen truly play, right? And that's real. Mm-hmm. Like you could look statistically, the over and above ones are the over and above ones. But most freshmen need that adjustment to go from high school to college. It's different. You're playing against men and women now, right?
True freshmen, redshirt freshmen. There's a
23, 24, and 25-year-olds versus 18-year-olds.
Right.
Because that's where we're at right now.
So I get a stat I wanted to. So my buddy, our buddy, Tyler Jamison, Washington, D.C., he's got a son who is a stud soccer player, has been on the track straight to Division I since he was 8 years old. Took a gap year. He's playing in Spain, okay? Because when he went out and started looking at big-time programs, what they found out is the average age, and maybe I might get this wrong, of a Division I soccer player right now is like 23 years old. So how does an 18-year-old kid who might not be as physically mature, might not be as emotionally mature, doesn't have as much tournament play, you're getting a 22, 21-year-old coming from South America who's got a little bit of professional experience. Now it's changed the game for them.
Can I say that's not as compelling for me?
Yeah.
Because wasn't hockey always that way?
It was, right?
Right, because hockey, your
basketball,
average freshman...
And basketball was, too.
Was 21 years old, right? Because the hockey players were playing juniors before they enrolled in a college or university. So it's existed. It's just not been under the microscope like it is now, where people see it. Where you have players from overseas now coming over. I mean, you could read the headlines, G League players. I know that's a whole other episode.
Right.
But, again, this is where, like, some type
Summer
of...
Pro League.
This is where, like, some think tank, some, group of individuals...
Well, didn't Lamar Bell try to to perfect this? With his sons?
Oh, you're talking about LeVar Ball.
LeVar Ball. Man,
LeVar Ball.
Well, let's cut that.
I was like, Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah, Le'Veon
I didn't know
Bell,
that he
Mitchell.
did this. I thought he was boxing. No.
Here, let's start that over. Cut that out there, Craig.
No, we're not cutting it out.
Definitely leaving
No,
that.
we're definitely cutting it out. I don't want
Oh, no, it's staying.
What was the guy's name?
No, it was no, it was
Ball.
Yeah,
Bell.
Ball.
But that was for a different reason. I mean, you have to use. I mean, if you want to get into it, Brad, like you don't even have to use LeVar Ball. The NBA has a different rule. It's 1 year removed from you got to be out of high school 1 year. But that's why they have what is it called? The Ignite League, the one in Atlanta. Like the kids could go there and play in high school before they go.
So why did he send his one son overseas?
Because that stuff didn't exist at the time that he was doing it. So he wanted him to be 1 year removed without having to go to college.
Right. So I mean that was he was trying to do the end round there.
He was trying to do the end. I mean, but there's always a workaround.
Yeah.
Right. There's always a workaround. And that, just again, what's the league called? I'm having a mental block right now, figures. But it's the G League Ignite team is the team from the developmental league in Atlanta. It's Overtime Elite. That's what it is. So you have Overtime Elite now. So you have leagues like that where kids can go do that year and then be eligible for the draft, or do that year, their junior year, their senior year of high school. So there's options. Those options didn't exist then. So then you had to look at the work. They went to Lithuania or wherever they went overseas to play,
right,
in order to make them draft eligible without going to college and still getting great competition along the way. Again, the 18-year-olds, the 17-year-olds, it's a little more challenging now because of the way that the landscape has evolved. Doesn't make it impossible. It just makes it, as a parent, it's a challenging world on how you're going to evaluate this process to give your kid the best support and the best resources to achieve that goal. Because this is what I tell everybody. Everybody's got to remember at the end of the day, and I think why NIL is so very important to certain athletes. Professional sports aren't guaranteed to anyone. That's the 1% of the 1%, right?
Yeah, that's a very small.
For some of these individuals, this is the time of the largest amount of earning capacity that they have. Right? Think about it. Some of these kids are making, high six figures as college students, and they may not be a pro.
And it can set them up to be professionals. They have freedom to invest in themselves when they realize
you're debt free. Think about a kid, and this is real stuff.
It's real stuff.
That gets a freshman as an 18-year-old gets a really healthy rev share deal. Right, and there's not, you keep your expenses down. You've been living modest. You can continue to live modest. You put that in a Roth or a 401k or one of those types of investment plans when you're 18.
Right.
Think about it.
No,
when you're 18, right?
And have the capability.
Now you live your life.
Yeah.
You're not a pro. You go and you work for whatever corporate institution or whatever you're going to do with your life's work after college.
No college debt.
That money you threw in there when you were 18, now you're 42, 43, 45 years old.
It's real money.
You can be done.
Right.
If it's handled the right way, you could be done. So this is really, really life-changing stuff. So I get, again, we could have a whole nother episode on
We should.
eligibility, right? Because you
we
look
should
at all the
also-
eligibility cases, right? Like there's a reason people were like, it's like, you leave the party, they close the doors, and you want to get back in the party, right? There's a reason that you have individuals that are
never do that.
out the game. That now they want back in the game. They want back into college because they see the earning opportunities are greater remaining in college than leaving college. Whereas before, there was no incentive for these young men and women to stay.
You know what I think is another great episode that we have to bring you back. I don't know if we can entice you. Is how do we protect these young athletes that are so young? And many of us at that age, do we really know what to do with a Roth IRA, or do we really know what to?
I mean, financial literacy.
Right.
Like that can be
Amen.
in and of itself. I mean, again, I don't want to get on any kind of soapbox and again.
But I think I think it's an important message because we've seen athletes.
Well, we try to point. So, again, I'm an attorney, not a financial advisor, not a psychologist, not anything else. But you have a great
But you do
role
play
in
all
this.
of them at one point or another.
But what I do is I'm able to assist and help direct them to the right service professionals that can provide them the right answer.
Help them ask the right questions.
Right. And I'm not telling you who to use, but I could say here are 10 people. We could help you do some research, figure out if they're, competent or not, or if they, based on their accreditations and whatnot. And they have to make those own individual decisions. I'm not advising them to do that.
Right.
We give legal advice, not business advice.
Can't. Yep.
But financial literacy is a big part of this process. Understanding, putting the right team of people around you, which a lawyer is one of those people.
Yes.
But you should get the finance guy. You should get the biggest one, in my opinion, a tax guy. Like, because it's funny. You look at athletes. Depending on how you spend your money, you may or may not, have money for the next season or whatnot. It happens constantly. The issue for student athletes is if you don't understand taxes and you're 1099, you're not spending the whole of that, that amount that you're receiving, right? So if you're at, let's just use a round number, if it's $100,000, and I'm not a tax guy, but let's say your tax liability is 40, that means you can only spend 60 of the, and the 40's got to go to the government in some way, shape, or form.
1099's tough.
But if you spend the entire 100, you have a tax liability now if you don't understand it, right?
You just put your whole in.
So now the student athlete is fighting for that next NIL deal because they need a big portion of it to pay last year's tax liability.
Yeah, and you're making my case for the whole employer designation of the NCAA to begin with.
I can't wait to watch your episode when you discuss that.
So let me ask you to close this up. If you were able to offer parents or young athletes who are looking at this process at some point in their future, whether they're engaged in it or not, whether it's realistic or not, if you could offer them a little bit of advice, simply, what might that be?
If you don't know, ask the questions.
Go find help.
Go find help. Find the right people. If you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody.
It's always find the right
people. Always think it's easier, and it's easier than it is. I can use ChatGPT. I can use Copilot. I can figure this out. There's nothing like scars, like from being in the trenches, from going through the wars. Where I relate is, again, when people say, well, Eddie, how did you do it? Why did you do it? Because I was a parent of a kid who had to do it. So I know, and I've learned. And, use those lessons that we've learned along the way and, what we've been able to figure out along the way to be a value for you. And again, you mentioned, and I'm going to mention his name again to keep him in the mix, but like a guy like Dave Franklin, there's a lot of competent individuals out there that are good at doing this.
They are.
Find them.
And they're respectable.
Talk to them.
They're not going to take your money. They're not going to do something otherwise.
No.
But as an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old, you have to have the right folks around you giving you the advice as to where to go, because these are life-changing decisions you're making at that age.
And this is not a static environment they're operating in, right? This is changing by the day. So
fluid.
Today,
it's fluid. So
ain't
you
the same
want
as
people
tomorrow.
on your team. Again, call me crazy. I wake up every morning reading articles about this stuff. I go to bed every night reading articles about this stuff. I'm just trying to keep up, right? But again, I'm not doing it because I'm saying, I just love it. Like, I want to know how this is evolving. Even if I wasn't doing it, I'd probably still be figuring out how this is evolving, just because I have a passion for the industry. But again, fortunately, I'm a transactional.
Started with the swimsuit issue
not quite that, but I'm a transactional lawyer by trade, and everybody has to remember this is business, right? So it's just the type of businesses has changes, but this is business.
That's awesome. That brings us full circle. He's an AI executive. He's an attorney. I'm a business guy. I work in the markets, deal with money. We try to bring you experts who work in this world that can bring you real insights that can help you learn. Hopefully that was super valuable for everybody. I know we realized we probably...
It was super valuable for me. I mean, I learned a lot even as we're talking.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, maybe we unearthed more questions than we answered, but I'll tell you what, we're not done with this. Eddie.
No.
Appreciate you, brother.
Eddie.
Thanks for that bottle, man.
Thank you, my man. This was good.
So much love in the room.
This is pit law, buddy. It's pit law.
That's right.
And it's what's great about this is that we have relationships that extend far beyond these walls. This is our friend group here. I mean, we didn't pay Eddie. We didn't email him. It's just like, hey, you want to come on and talk about the thing you're best at. This is an example of what we're going to do every week, as often as we can, about as many topics as possible. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Guys.
Without.
It's a relevant topic too.
Yeah, totally.
NIL is
It's
100% relevant
right now, and anybody that's reading the sports, they're talking about NIL.
So, look, thanks for sticking with us through this conversation. Fire's getting low, bottle's getting low, our eyes are getting red. Thank you for tuning in. Better with Bourbon. Thank you, Eddie. Anything you want to leave us off with?
No, this was excellent. Thank you for the invite.
Thanks for being here.
Whenever you guys need me, I'm here.
We appreciate
Awesome.
you coming on, Eddie. Thank
Cheers,
you.
everybody.
Cheers, everybody. Everything's always better than bourbon, even NIL.
This has been the Better with Bourbon Podcast with Brad Martineau and Deacon Palmer. New episodes drop weekly. Be sure to subscribe or follow us.
The views and opinions shared on the Better with Bourbon podcast are our own and those of our guests. Nothing we discuss should be taken as financial, legal, business, or gambling advice. Don't make investment, business, or betting decisions based on our conversations, as you should always talk to a qualified professional. Always drink responsibly, never drink and drive, and only consume alcohol if you are of legal drinking age.